Okay, deployment tools. This workstream is relatively new. It's only been around for one PI officially, but it was kind of hanging around unofficially for at least one PI before that. I'll kind of skip over this overview slide. These overview slides in my decks, they're designed for after the event, if people come back to the slide deck just to get a quick executive summary of what's been happening in the workstream over the PI. Important things to note: deployment tools is part of our Make Adoption Easier pillar. So we are focused in this workstream on reducing barriers to people adopting Moduloop as a payments platform of choice. Our overall objectives are to curate, manage the set of deployment tools that are available in the Moduloop open source codebase via GitHub. Since the last time we reported out, we've made some significant progress in the areas of documentation. Much of our current priority is a result of the realization that although we have a good set of deployment tools with lots of features and capability, there's still difficulty being encountered in our adopter community when it comes to using them, finding them, knowing where to go to download the various pieces of code necessary to deploy Moduloop in these weird and wonderful ways. So our top priority has been improving that by documenting what is there and how to use it. First of all, we have published a kind of top-level guide as to the various options available for deploying the Moduloop software platform. I'm just going to point you to the Moduloop documents website, which is docs.moduloop.io. That's also linked from the main moduloop.io website. When you land in this site, you're presented with four main options. The documentation on deploying Moduloop is spread across technical and product, but the main launching off point, if you come at this from a product perspective, how do I deploy, install, how do I make use of Moduloop? You'll find yourself in this section of documentation, and you'll see a left side menu with various sections, categories to guide you in the kind of high top level areas of the Moduloop product, what features it has, what use cases it supports, etc. But one of these newly added is for deployment. So if you follow this deploying Moduloop link on the side, you'll find some high-level documentation. One of the most recent additions is this feature matrix, we've been calling it, but it's a simple two-dimensional matrix to help you figure out which deployment tool would best suit your needs. And you'll see down the y-axis a user type, a persona, student, developer, business analyst, potential adopter, auditor, system integrator, hub operator, and then across the x-axis, you'll see the different use cases, such as learning about Moduloop, evaluating it, testing use cases, feature development, and production. And in each one of the intersections, you'll see some notes related to the characteristics of that particular type of deployment. So, for example, if you're a student, you want to learn about Moduloop, you'll find that you need a single machine, a laptop, or a VM. And the color of the cell here, I'm hoping it's showing up as a kind of light green. That denotes a particular deployment tool choice that would best suit your use. And then in the following table, there are some detailed information about the tools, the features of the deployment tool, in this case, core test harness, minimum resource requirements, what kind of security that deployment pattern gives you, what type of documentation you can expect, and a list of caveats, assumptions, and limitations. So, for example, you'll see core test harness. It's quite clearly never to be used in production, never to be used to process real money transactions. So this table, an increasing level of production readiness, moves towards our IEC as being the kind of all singing and dancing, everything you might need. You will note, if you do have a detailed read of this, that there are still some open questions in this. It's a living document. It's currently being iterated quite frequently. So keep your eyes on this. What you'll notice is that there are links in some of these. So if you want to know about doing a Helm deploy, for example, you can follow the link to some more documentation on the Helm deployment, which again leads you to technical documentation, which is a subheading under the technical center, technical heading over here. The Moduleap deployment guide, which you'll find here in the technical section, which will talk through all of the various things you need to do and think about and sort out before you can deploy Moduleap using each one of the tools. So that's new. We have ticked that box for this PI, although, as I say, we'll be continuing to iterate that. But another really significant piece of work that's happened over the last PI is documentation for IAC, our infrastructure as code. IAC is a really feature-rich way of deploying Moduleap into cloud or on-premise. It's super flexible. The tool chain is relatively complex, and the skill set, the DevOps skill set required to make best use of it, it's still fairly rare, I would say. So we've put a volume of effort, thanks to Vanda in the Moduleap community, the guys from Infotex who've been supporting her, and various other members of the foundation core team have been building some very detailed documentation around IAC to try to remove some of the learning curve and installation pain. I'll just point out one thing about what you're seeing here on the screen. This is a preview version. This document hasn't actually been published yet, it's still in draft. But we have a new capability so that when we're building updates to our documentation website, we can now preview them as rendered HTML rather than as previously some of you who'd been maintaining our documents will have gone through the pain of having to review PRs in Markdown. So the world has improved somewhat in that space, thanks to Tony, one of our contract resources, who's made that possible now. So this is a preview of a PR. You can link to the PR on GitHub if you have comments. And you'll notice this is the old way of reviewing documentation changes. You have to look at all the Markdown and you have to read the documents in Markdown format, which can be a bit tricky. So the world has moved on nicely since then. We can now review these documentation changes. So the IAC deployment guide is a kind of intended to be a step-by-step, starting from scratch. How do I download the code from GitHub? How do I run the code? What parameters do I need to plumb in to make it deploy production quality Moduleap deployments? The one issue we have with these previews at the moment is that the images don't render correctly. That's a known issue that we're trying to fix. But there are lots of diagrams here. I won't spend too long going through the details here, but I've put the link in my slide deck here. So if anyone wants to go and have a preview of what's coming, please go and have a look at that. And the guys contributing would be very pleased to hear your updates and feedback on that. But slowly, you'll see this is quite a large document here. There's lots of steps involved, but you'll see it even gives you code examples, how to start from scratch, so how to how to generate your SSH key pairs, for example. And this is, remember, ISE is supposed to be a fully secure production quality modular loop deployment with as few button presses as necessary from a human operator to make it happen. It is a complex process. We're constantly trying to iterate our ISE to simplify things and reduce the probability of things going amiss during the long and somewhat complex installation process. But one of the advantages of this tool, of course, is that you don't have to put quite so much effort into building something like this from scratch yourself. An enterprise who wanted to run a modular loop platform in production would have to think about a large number of concerns when it comes to deploying software as production infrastructure, especially for financial platforms that process and keep track of money. Security, availability, resilience, redundancy, reliability, they're all very high levels of concern because of the risks associated. So ISE is designed to at least make you think about every one of those important aspects during a deployment. I'll just give you a flavor for what kind of stuff you can expect to find in this when it eventually gets published. For example, you specify your configuration with your public IP addresses and domain names, for example, and then the ISE scripts take care of setting everything up for you in cloud or on-prem. It's not complete yet. It's not complete. There's still some volume of work required before we can publish that PR officially on the website, but it is coming soon. So what are we going to be doing over the next PI? So until the next in-person meeting, we will be mostly focused on completing that ISE documentation. It's one of our kind of flagship important pieces of tooling, and improving its usability is highest priority for the deployment tools workstream. But alongside that, we're also trying to constantly think about the set of tools that we have for deployments, our Helm deployment, our core test harness. Are we providing the most appropriate set of tools for the users that we have out in the community and our adopters? So we spend a considerable amount of time thinking about those things as well. If you want to get involved, if deploying modular loop is part of your job or something that you're responsible for or concerned about, or if you have skills that you'd like to donate, please come and get involved with us. We have a workstream call every Tuesday at 8 AM UTC. If your time zones don't align perfectly, then please just reach out to us on our Slack channel, and we'll try to accommodate everybody as best as possible. We do, like the other work streams, maintain a notes document. So at any time you can, these are all public again. I think I mentioned in my last report that we have pinned posts in these Slack channels that link to our workstream notes documents. These notes documents have minutes of all of the meetings that we have, all of those regular weekly meetings. We keep pretty detailed minutes and notes about what's discussed, decisions that are made, the various comments and positions of people. We also try to constantly rethink our priorities. Are we working on the right things? Are we spending our time in the most effective way possible? We keep a register of open questions. We also keep track of our short-term objectives for the PI. So you'll see we closed down some of our PI 27 SMART objectives. We didn't quite get across the line with publishing the ISE documents. And we still have some open questions about missing features from the deployment tool set as a whole. But like I say, that's an ongoing thing. In some of these documents, you'll find links to ZenHub. It's been mentioned on Slack recently. I'm not sure, but I think there might have even been a post on Community Central that we've moved away from ZenHub. ZenHub were not offering us continuation with our agreement that we had with them. So instead, we've moved to GitHub projects, which has pretty much the same functionality. It's also a free part of the GitHub platform that we have anyway. So it's no additional cost. So these will change soon to be links to the GitHub projects themselves. So don't be misled if you come along here and try and have a look at our Kanban board or our sprint board and you find these links don't work. Just reach out on the Slack channel and we can point you to the right GitHub project.